Let's go. So I think at this point most people agree that, you know, personality and story kind of triumph over everything else. But I think there's another key ingredient that a lot of people don't talk about, and I think that's efficiency. For me, there's an interesting relationship with efficiency because of all the years I've been making videos and like making music and all that sort of stuff. For me, efficiency has been almost tantamount to my creative process. And I mean that in the sense that the way my brain works, it moves so fast that if I don't have efficiency in my workflow, that I just don't complete ideas. Like I just don't get ideas out there. And that's one of the things I've struggled with for so long, and that's one of the things that kept me from uploading to this channel specifically for so long, is that, you know, the things I want to shoot are not efficient, and unfortunately a lot of ideas kind of fall on the wayside because of that. When you have ideas that require workflows that aren't as efficient, well, you know, like if you have bigger ideas that require more time and more planning and more equipment to complete, a lot of the times I've had great ideas and they just end up going out the window because, you know, I can't figure out a way to get them done efficiently or in a way that makes sense with the rest of my life, you know. And, you know, I think there's something to be said about that, especially with these, you know, these little small camera systems that are starting to come out now. I never really felt this way about the GoPro. I don't know, for whatever reason why. I think it's just because the GoPro isn't like stabilized and the footage just doesn't really strike me as amazing. At least not back when I started. The stuff now is good, but someone like me who has always struggled with being able to get my ideas out on paper fast enough and find efficient enough workflows, you know, stuff like this for me is a godsend, because now I feel like I have the opportunity to get more ideas out there and really kind of talk about what I want to talk about and not have to worry all the time about if it's going to be good enough. Or obviously quality doesn't matter too much, but I feel like 360p video is kind of a turnoff unless, you know, very certain special circumstances. But anyways, there's something to be said about efficiency, I feel like, because, you know, small camera systems like this, they allow a one-man band like me to kind of, you know, get my ideas out there properly and kind of, you know, pull my own weight and pull my own punches without me having to, you know, get out all my stuff, get out my tripod, get out Lumix S5 rig, set up my camera cage, set up my microphone, set up everything, set up the lighting. And it's like, I've always understood that the way that I shot things originally wasn't as efficient, right? And now we're starting to see this thing where if you're a one-man band like me, it doesn't really make sense to, you know, pull out the huge cameras, the really nice camera setup, the more inefficient camera setup for every single project, because now we're at a point where just this is enough, you know what I mean? Like just something like this is enough. I can get my ideas across, I can get them through, I can feel like I can say whatever I need to say without being held back by things like setting up the tripod, or things like making sure all the battery units are charged, making sure that my monitor's charged, making sure that I have all the cables I need, making sure that I have, you know, all the right lenses for the job, making sure that, you know, things like this makes all the decisions for you, right? It's completely simplified. It's like I'm stuck with like a 22mm lens on like a tiny little gimbal, and that's all I get. I got to be creative with that. I got to make that work. I got to try to make my video come across as interesting enough as I can in order to entertain people. In my music side of things, I am a one-man band essentially. I produce all my own stuff. I record all my instrument tracks with the exception of like drums, because I don't have a drum kit or anything like that. But as far as like, you know, guitars, synthesizers, you know, VST instruments, whatever, that's all me playing that in there. I don't have a band, right? I write all the songs, I record all the vocals, and it's the same thing in like in this realm too, like the filmmaking world. Small creators like me don't necessarily have the time or budget to hire on like a camera crew, right? So somebody that's a bigger channel that kind of has, you know, the infrastructure set up to where they can hire multiple camera people, it makes sense to, you know, shoot the heck out of it and make it super cinematic and over the top, because they have, you know, they have the space and room and time to do that, whereas I don't necessarily. And the process of trying to make it look nice, right, I sacrifice the ability to be able to film myself, right? Because when I have to set up the tripod and set up the camera and everything, it's a lot harder for me to film myself, because I have to keep moving things around, and like, so if I want to shoot something really nice, I find that I kind of sacrifice the ability to shoot myself. It's better if I shoot other people or like things or like documentaries or things like that. It's basically hard to be the guy that, you know, pulls all the switches at the same amount of time. So something that I think is going to be important for me to start focusing on is things like, you know, what's that balance look like? You know, what's that balance look like for me? What does it look like for me to be able to be as efficient, but, you know, have the most amount of quality that I can squeeze in here at the same time? Because there's a certain point where we're gonna lose quality. But for me, I can't do that anymore, where I ride that line of quality so much, because in the past it hasn't really worked out the best for me. Basically, last time I did it, it led to a very long hiatus from creating. Some of you may know, and that's just not something I can afford to do anymore. You know, I can't afford, at least the way I see it, I don't have much time left to mess around and not actually post stuff. That ship has kind of sailed for me a little bit here. So I think that number is probably different for everybody. At least that balance is different for everybody. For people like me especially, I don't really have the resources to put a ton of effort into filming stuff right now. And you know, there's the other thing that I've talked about before too, is like, there's a balance required for, if I'm just going on a walk and I need to talk about something, why would I bring, you know, a 20 or 30 pound camera rig with me just in order to squeeze like that extra 10% of quality out of it? It just doesn't make sense. That's where I was kind of getting my original thought about efficiency from, is that right there is 100% non-efficient, you know? Like, that is one of the more inefficient things you can probably do. And, you know, I kind of feel a little bit guilty about that sort of thing. Like, I feel like, why can't I figure it out, you know, if other people can? But it's getting to the point where I just don't care that much anymore. You know, people are going to watch or they're not going to watch, in my experience. So who really cares, honestly, at the end of the day? And like, I know if I really want to crank the heat up to 100, I'm more than capable of doing that for different projects and certain things. But I feel like getting more into like this vlog style type of content is going to be better for me, because I feel like the vlog style content is better for kind of maintaining and like nurturing an audience. And then I feel like the cooler, bigger, like more artsy projects are better for like bringing new people in, and then also, you know, like, I guess kind of doing a little bit of a fan service for, you know, the people who have already been fans for a while. But there's also this other thing too, where I'm kind of bad at like scripting. I'm really bad at scripting, and that's something that I'm much more better talking off the cuff than I am a script. And I noticed that whenever I've tried to script stuff out in the past, it always ends up being kind of corny for some reason. I don't know. I think I'm better at talking and speaking off the cuff than I am having a script all written out and everything. Because for whatever reason, like, whenever I try to do the delivery on scripts that I write, it kind of comes out like a Marvel movie, I feel like. I don't know, it just sounds kind of main character, and that's not what I'm trying to portray. So, yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say there, is that I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to be the main character all the time. I'd rather connect with people and be authentic rather than try to look like a main character all the time. And there's way too much of that out there right now, so